Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Hello guys, welcome back to our history lesson. So today we have chapter 8 of your history section in the book, and the title for this chapter is called New Political Formations in the 18th Century. So this chapter is all about what happens or what happened in the medieval period of Indian history after the decline of the Mughal, after the death of the important Mughal emperors, okay, or great powerful Mughal emperors. What happened in India? What happened to the Mughal Empire? Okay, whether it completely came to a decline or whether it led to formations of other new kingdoms. All right, so this is what we are going to look at, and the period that we are going to focus on is 18th century. So basically the years starting from 1700. All right. So what we have to understand when we learn about the new political formations in 18th century is that Aurangzeb, the last of the great Mughal emperors, have died. Okay, so Aurangzeb, who was one of the last of the great Mughal emperors, dies in the year 1707. Okay, so after that does not mean that the Mughal Empire declined or the Mughal Empire no longer existed. No, that does not mean that. The Mughal emperors continued to rule over India for a certain period of time, even after Aurangzeb, okay? But those Mughal emperors were not great Mughal emperors like Aurangzeb, Shah Jahan, Akbar, Jahangir, etc. Okay, so the successors of Aurangzeb, who were Mughal emperors, but they were not as capable as the great Mughal emperors such as Aurangzeb. They were incapable to rule such a vast tract of empire. They were weak. Okay, they could not control its governors. They could not control its distant and far away provinces. They could not control its ministers. So because the successors of Aurangzeb and all the Mughal emperors who came after Aurangzeb, because they were weak and incapable compared to Aurangzeb and the others, there was constantly cases of revolts, of rebellion, of protest, okay, by the governors, by the ministers within the Mughal court against the Mughal emperor. So that means the Mughal emperors were so weak that they were challenged by its own commanders, by its own ministers, by its own governors. Alright, so as a result of such revolt, such rebellion, such protest, and sometimes also wars, there was emergence of new kingdoms, new independent kingdoms. Alright, so there were emergence of new formations of kingdoms. So this was the important feature or characteristics of the 18th century India. Alright, so the successors that we just talked about, the successors of Aurangzeb and the Mughal emperors who came to rule after Aurangzeb, they were called the Later Mughals. Alright, so we said these later Mughals were not as capable, not as stronger as the great Mughal emperors. Okay, so the later Mughal emperors were Bahadur Shah the first, Jahangir Shah, Farrukhsiyar, Muhammad Shah, who was also called Rangila, and Bahadur Shah Zafar. Like I said, these later Mughals were weak. They were not strong and capable like the great Mughal emperors, and they were weak as a result of the fact that they could not hold the distant provinces. could not control the vast empire of the Mughal emperors. Alright, and they had to keep on engaging themselves in wars, in battles with their neighbors, with their ministers, with their governors. Okay, so as a result of this, they became even more weaker. Okay. So now let us look at the later Mughals one by one. So we'll start with Bahadur Shah the first. Bahadur Shah began his reign from 1707 to 1712. Alright. So Bahadur Shah the first was Aurangzeb's successor. So he succeeded Aurangzeb. Alright. When he came to become the ruler, when he came to become the emperor, there were some things that he did. So first, he recognized Ajit Singh as the ruler of Jodhpur in Rajasthan. Okay, and this he did to appease or make happy, appease the Rajputs. He wanted to make his neighbors happy and not make them fight with him. Okay. Similarly, he also released the grandson of Shivaji, the Maratha leader Shivaji. His grandson was Shahu. So he was captured by the Mughal emperor, and Bahadur Shah the first released Shahu. Okay, and this also he did to appease the Marathas, so that the Marathas don't fight with him. Okay, because he was already getting weaker. Shahu was also offered a very high position or rank in the administration of the Mughal Empire. Okay, so Bahadur Shah the first was trying to make friendly relations with its neighbors so that they don't fight with him, they don't try to attack him. Okay, in a similar manner, he also tried to build good friendship with the Sikhs, another neighbor. Okay. But despite trying to build friendly relationships to control these neighbors, to make them not fight with him and not invade him, he could not control the rising power of the Marathas or of the Sikhs. Okay. Now, Bahadur Shah the first died in 1712, so he did not rule for long. Alright. After him came Jahandar Shah. He ruled also for a very brief period, so from 1712 to 1713. Now, during Jahandar Shah's reign, Sayyid brothers became very powerful. Okay. Now, Sayyid brothers were two brothers who became extremely powerful during the medieval period. Okay, they were called the kingmakers. They had great influence in the court, also in the administration of the Mughal emperors. Okay, they could make a king, make an emperor, or they could also bring that emperor down. Okay, so they were that powerful. So these two brothers were basically Hassan Ali Khan and Hussain Ali Khan, and both these brothers were called the Sayyid brothers. Alright. Now, these Sayyid brothers also tried to make Jahandar Shah a puppet. Now, what is a puppet? So, imagine you are playing with a doll. A doll is in the form of a human. Alright, or an animal. Now, what is a puppet is like you can make that doll move the way you want. You pull the hand of the doll's hand gets pulled. You pull the hair of the doll's hair gets pulled. You try to remove the leg or the shoe of the doll, it gets removed. So basically, you can do whatever you want with the doll. The doll does or moves according to your will. Right? So these Sayyid brothers were so powerful and so influential that they also now began to make the emperor their puppet. So Sayyid brothers wanted the emperor to work according to them. Alright, so Jahandar Shah was also tried to make a puppet of Sayyid brothers, but Jahandar Shah refused, and so his relationship with the Sayyid brothers was not good. So Because of this, Jahandar Shah was murdered by the Sayyid brothers. Okay. Now, after Jahandar Shah, Farrukh Siyar became the next Mughal emperor. Now, before Farrukh Siyar became the next Mughal emperor, there were already two Mughal emperors which had been reinstated in the throne of the Mughal emperor, but they were also killed. Alright, so after two came Farrukh Siyar. Now, Farrukh Siyar ruled from 1713 to 1719. Now, he was a puppet in the hands of Sayyid brothers. Okay, during Farrukh Siyar's reign, General Banda Bahadur was captured and he was put to death. Okay, so he belonged to a kingdom, or he belonged to the Sikh region. Alright, now Farrukh Siyar also was murdered by Sayyid brothers, just like Jahandar Shah. Okay, now after Farrukh Siyar came next Mughal emperor, who was Muhammad Shah Rangila. He ruled from 1720 to 1748. Okay. Now, the first thing that Muhammad Shah did was overthrow the Sayyid brothers. He removed the Sayyid brothers from its position that it held in the Mughal court. Okay. Now, this overthrowing of the Sayyid brothers, it was done by Muhammad Shah by taking support of other governors or ministers of the Mughal court. Okay. Now, after the overthrow of the Sayyid brothers, these supporters became quite powerful, and because they became powerful and now they wanted to have control over their province for themselves, by themselves, they did not want the Mughal emperor to govern them. So they declared independence. They declared themselves independent from the rule of the Mughal emperor. So some of these supporters who were powerful and became independent, they were Ali Vardi Khan, who ruled in Bengal, Saadat Khan in Awadh, and Nizam-ul-Mulk in Hyderabad. So these were the three important supporters of Muhammad Shah to overthrow the Sayyid brothers, but these were also important independent kingdoms that emerged during this period. Alright. Now, Muhammad Shah, in the beginning I said that he was also very popularly called Rangila. He was known as Rangila. It's because he had great love for music and dance. He was very fond of merrymaking. Okay, he liked organizing parties, taking part in activities like that. He liked music, dance. So because of that, he was popularly known as Rangila. Alright. During his reign, during Muhammad Shah's reign, the Marathas, the Sikhs, the Jats, the Rajputs, who lied on the neighboring territories of the Mughal Empire, they increased their power. They became powerful, and they also now became a threat to the Mughal Empire and the Mughal Emperor as well. Okay. Now, after Muhammad Shah came Bahadur Shah Zafar. Now, Bahadur Shah Zafar, the Mughal emperor, was the last emperor of the Mughals. Okay, he was the last Mughal emperor before the Mughal empire came to a decline. Now, during Bahadur Shah Zafar's reign, the regional kingdoms, the kingdoms which were already declaring themselves as independent, which were already gaining power and authority over its province, over its regions, they now became very powerful. Okay, like Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad, they became very powerful. Now, during this time, during Bahadur Shah Zafar's time, there was also a very important presence that the British had established in India. So the British, who were basically traders in the beginning. Okay. Now, by the time Bahadur Shah Zafar ruled over India, the British trading company, or the British traders and merchants, had already established themselves as rulers of certain areas of India. So they had started annexing, that means capturing, Indian territories and regions, okay, in the east as well as in the south. Alright. Now during Bahadur Shah Zafar's reign, there was also one very important event that took place, and that was the revolt of 1857. Now this is also known as Sepoy Mutiny. So this was the time where the Sepoys, or the soldiers, the Indian soldiers of India, okay, who worked under the British, they rose in uprising. They came together and they revolted against their British masters, against their British generals, commanders, their British officials. Now the sepoys, or the soldiers, were also joined by the landlords, also joined by other Indians coming from other backgrounds, not only from military background, okay, and they all came together and they revolted against the British government. Alright, so this was one of the important events that took place in the 19th century during the reign of Bahadur Shah Zafar. Okay, now in 1858, right after the end of the revolt of 1857, Bahadur Shah Zafar was overthrown from the position of Emperor of India. Okay, and with the overthrow of Bahadur Shah Zafar by the British, the Mughal rule came to an end finally. Okay, so these were the main events that took place, or these were the main characteristics of the reign of successors or the later Mughals that succeeded Aurangzeb. All right. So here we have a map of India. Now this map, please be aware that this is a map which we understand India as today. So we are talking about 18th century India. Now 18th century India did not have this boundaries, alright. These are the boundaries of present day India. Now these boundaries did not exist. It included Pakistan as well. It included Bangladesh as well. Okay, so do not follow this map ditto. But here what I want you to focus is that the pink areas, these pink regions, they indicate the British control. Okay, so in the 18th century we just learned how the British had already established the control in certain parts of India, and we also see that the Rajputs were there, the Marathas, right? In South India we see Mysore, the Nizam of Hyderabad, Nizam ul Mulk's rule here, alright, Awadh, Bengal. So these were important independent regional kingdoms that emerged during the reign of the later Mughals. Okay, so this gives us an idea of how India was during the 18th century. Alright. In more detail, at the independent kingdoms which emerged after the decline, or when the Mughal Empire had begun to decline or had begun to weaken. So we already know that the three important powerful independent regions that came up while the Mughal Empire was declining, those were Bengal, Awadh and Hyderabad. Now these three were under the Mughal rule. They were under the Mughals, and while they were under the Mughals, they proclaimed themselves to be independent and began to administer their regions of Bengal, Awadh and Hyderabad by its governors independently. Okay. Now there were other regions as well which were emerging as powerful and independent regions. Okay. So there were other powers like Amber, Mewar, Marwar. These were others who were increasingly becoming powerful and also proclaiming independence. Alright. Likewise, there were also regional kingdoms which came up during this time as powerful kingdoms. So those were regions under the Jats, the Sikhs and the Marathas. So in this topic we are going to look at some of these. Alright, so we'll begin with Bengal, one of the important regional kingdom or important kingdom that came out, independent kingdom that emerged while Mughal Empire was declining. Now in Bengal, its governor was Murshid Quli Khan. Now Murshid Quli Khan was appointed governor by the Mughal Emperor, okay? But he became independent and began to rule independently. So Bengal became an independent province or independent region which was ruled by Murshid Quli Khan, alright? Although he was a Nawab, he was a governor which was actually appointed by the Mughal Emperor. Alright. Now while he ruled Bengal, he moved his capital, which was earlier in Dhaka, present day capital of Bangladesh. So earlier his capital was in Dhaka, then from Dhaka he moved it to Murshidabad. Murshidabad is in present day state of West Bengal. Alright. Now he was succeeded by other Nawabs of Bengal, and they were Sujauddin and Alivardi Khan. So first by Sujauddin and then Alivardi Khan succeeded Sujauddin. Alright. Now when Bengal was under the rule of these governors or Nawabs, Bengal prospered. It became very wealthy. It was one of the wealthiest provinces or one of the wealthiest areas in India during that time. Okay. Now these Nawabs, they not only made sure that the economic growth of Bengal prospered, but also they brought other changes for its improvement. Okay, improvement of the area. So they removed corruption. They also removed Jagirdars, the landlords, the important officials who were inefficient. Okay. So they were also removed. If they were corrupt, if they were not doing their duties properly, if they were harassing the common people, then those inefficient officials, Jagirdars, corrupt officials were all removed. And these Nawabs encouraged trade and commerce to be flourished in Bengal. Okay. Now during the rule of Alivardi Khan, the successor of Sujauddin, he signed a treaty or a pact. Treaty means a pact. Okay. Pact with the Marathas, one of the regional kingdoms or one of the regional powers emerging to be powerful during that time. So this treaty was signed with the Marathas so that the Marathas, which were becoming powerful, they do not attack Alivardi Khan or they do not attack Bengal. Okay, so in order to keep them away from Bengal, a treaty was signed by Alivardi Khan. Now, although the rule of these Nawabs in Bengal prospered and was a good rule, but it came to an end, and that end came with the capture of Bengal by the East India Company led by the British merchants and officials. Okay, so with that, the British East India Company took over Bengal. Along with Bengal, it also took over Orissa and Bihar. Alright, so now let us look at another independent kingdom. So that is the kingdom of Awadh. Now Awadh was under the rule of Sadat Khan. Sadat Khan was again just like Murshid Quli Khan. He also was an officer or governor under the Mughal ruler, under the Mughal Empire or emperor. Alright. Now initially he was the governor of Awadh, and then following that, after gaining power, after gaining independence, it declared itself to be an independent kingdom. Okay, independent from the rule of the Mughal emperor. So then its independent rule began. Now when Saadat Khan began to rule Awadh, then just like the Nawabs in Bengal, it also suppressed, or it also controlled the powerful zamindars, some of the landlords, some of the zamindars. All right, they were gaining more and more power, and that was not good. So that provided that that also acted as a threat, okay, to the governor, to Saadat Khan. So he suppressed all those powerful zamindars. He also reformed the revenue system. He brought changes in the land revenue system. Saadat Khan was succeeded by Safdarjung first, okay, and after Safdarjung came the successor Sujauddaulah. Okay, now during the reign of Safdarjung and Sujauddaulah, Awadh also became one of the prosperous kingdoms. All right, and the capital of Awadh was in Lucknow. Lucknow was the capital of Awadh. Now let's move on to see how Hyderabad became independent and how it was governed. Now Hyderabad was ruled, Hyderabad came to be governed by Nizam. Okay, so we often hear, whenever we go to Hyderabad, we often hear the name Nizam of Hyderabad. Now this Nizam of Hyderabad's original name was Chinkilik Khan. All right, and he also was one of the official of the Mughal Emperor. All right, and the Mughal Emperor had given Chinkilik Khan the title of Nizam ul Mulk. All right, that's why Nizam of Hyderabad. Now Hyderabad also was under the influence or under the control of the Mughal Empire, but it proclaimed independence. All right, now Hyderabad came to be ruled independently, came to be ruled by Nizam ul Mulk as an independent kingdom, as an independent region. All right, now with the rule of Nizam ul Mulk, he founded a dynasty, and that was called Asaf Jahi dynasty. All right, and the Asaf Jahi dynasty ruled over Hyderabad till 1948, till the time it joined independent India. Okay, until then Hyderabad was ruled by the rulers belonging to Asaf Jahi dynasty, which was founded by Nizam ul Mulk. All right, so the first one is a question where we have three options for answers. We have to pick the correct one. So let's look at it. After Farooq Siyar, how many rulers were replaced by Said brothers? So there were two rulers who were replaced by Said brothers, and Farooq Siyar was made the emperor, the Mughal emperor. Okay. The next question, state true or false. So these are two statements. We have here is a statement, and we have to state whether this is true or false. Bahadur Shah first released Shivaji from the prison. Is this true or false? This is false, because Bahadur Shah released Shivaji's grandson, okay, not Shivaji, from the prison. The next question asks us to name the successors of Aurangzeb. So they were Bahadur Shah first, Jahangir Shah, Farooq Siyar, Muhammad Shah, and Bahadur Shah Zafar. All right. The next question. Name any three regional powers which rose in the 18th century. So we can write Bengal, Awadh, and Hyderabad. These were the three regional powers that became powerful in the 18th century. The next question. Who were Sayyid brothers? Sayyid brothers were Hassan Ali Khan and Hussein Ali Khan. Alright. The next question. Give reasons for the downfall of the Mughals. So, there are many reasons, but some of the important ones are the later Mughals, or you can also say the successors of Aurangzeb. They were weak. They could not hold control of distant provinces. They were engaged in wars and battles with their neighbors and enemies. There was an emergence of powerful regional kingdoms. So these were some of the reasons for the downfall of the Mughals.